Daewon sat in the pilot's chair of his ship, the Starhound, watching the stars drift past his view screen. He had been alone for 3 years now, ever since he left Earth to try his luck in alien space. The ship was small, old, and constantly making strange noises, but it was his. That was all that mattered. The debris field ahead looked like a graveyard of metal and broken dreams. 2 alien fleets had fought here last week, or so the news feed said. Now all that remained were twisted pieces of ships floating in the darkness. Daewon knew that salvage meant money, and money meant fuel, food, and repairs. Scanning for valuable materials, the ship's computer said in its flat, emotionless voice. Daewon leaned back and sipped his coffee. It was the last of his Earth coffee, and he savored every drop. Out here, human luxuries were expensive and hard to find. Most aliens thought coffee smelled like burning plastic. The scanner beeped. Then it beeped again, faster this time. "What is it?" Daewon asked. "Distress beacon detected. Distance 2 kilometers. Signal is weak," Daewon frowned. Distress beacons usually meant survivors, and survivors meant complications. He had learned to avoid complications. They cost money and sometimes got you killed. Ignore it. Keep scanning for salvage. Beacon frequency matches emergency protocol. Galactic law requires response to distress signals. Daewon sighed. The computer was right, but galactic law was one thing. Reality was another. Still, something made him hesitate. Maybe it was the memory of Earth, where people still helped each other. Maybe it was just curiosity. Fine, set course for the beacon. The Starhound turned and moved through the debris field. Daewon watched carefully, avoiding the larger pieces of wreckage. His ship was not built for fancy flying, but he had become good at it over the years. The beacon came from a small escape pod, badly damaged and drifting without power. Daewon brought his ship alongside and extended the cargo bay to pull it in. The whole process took 20 minutes. When the pod was secure, Daewon went down to the cargo bay. He stood in front of the pod for a moment, suddenly nervous. What if it was a pirate trap? What if something dangerous was inside? He opened the pod anyway. Inside was a young female alien, unconscious and bleeding. Her skin was covered in scales that shimmered with faint blue and purple patterns. She wore armor that looked both elegant and deadly, though it was cracked and burnt in several places. In her hand, she clutched a curved blade with symbols carved along its length. Daewon had seen aliens like her before, though never this close. She was Valari. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Valari. They were warriors, proud and fierce. Most species gave them a wide path. Stories said a single Valari could fight 10 trained soldiers and win. Computer, is she alive? Scanning. Life signs detected. Multiple injuries. Immediate medical attention required. Daewon carefully lifted her from the pod. She was lighter than he expected. He carried her to the medical bay, a small room with 1 bed and basic equipment. It was not fancy, but it had saved his life twice already. He placed her on the bed and activated the medical scanner. The computer began listing her injuries in its usual boring voice. Burns, broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe dehydration. Daewon worked quickly, following the computer's instructions. He had learned basic medicine during his first year in space, after a bad experience on a station where the doctor tried to charge him 3 months of salary. The medical machines hummed and beeped. Slowly, the Valari's condition stabilized. Her breathing became regular. The blue and purple patterns on her skin began to glow more brightly. "She will survive," the computer said. Recovery time estimated at 3 to 5 days. Daewon sat down on the floor, suddenly exhausted. He looked at the Valari warrior sleeping on his medical bed. She was beautiful in a dangerous way, like a weapon that was also a work of art. "What am I doing?" he muttered to himself. For 3 days, Daewon checked on her regularly. He gave her medicine, changed her bandages, and made sure the machines were working properly. The ship drifted through space, avoiding the main travel lanes. He did not want to attract attention while carrying an unconscious Valari. On the 4th day, she woke up. Daewon was in the medical bay, checking the monitors, when her eyes opened. They were gold with vertical pupils like a cat's eyes, those eyes fixed on him with frightening intensity. She sat up fast, too fast. Her hand went to her side, searching for the blade. Daewon had moved it across the room just in case. "Where am I?" she demanded. Her voice was strong, despite her injuries. "Who are you?" "You're safe," Daewon said, keeping his hands visible. "You're on my ship. I found you in an escape pod." She looked around the medical bay, then back at him. Her eyes narrowed. "You rescued me?" "Yes, why?" The question surprised him. Because you needed help. Your pod was damaged and you were dying. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she said something in her own language, words that sounded like music and steel at the same time. I don't understand, Daewon said. She switched to common, the language most species used for trade. What is your name, human? Daewon, captain of the Starhound. He gestured around. This ship. I am Jiha of the Velari. She touched her chest in what looked like a formal gesture. You interfered with my death, Daewon. Do you understand what that means? I saved your life? Yes, and now I owe you a debt. She stood up, though Daewon could see it hurt her. A life debt. It is our way. Wait, you don't owe me anything. You do not understand. Jiha's voice was firm. Among my people, to save a warrior's life means you have claimed that life. I cannot return home with honor while this debt remains unpaid. From this moment, you are my captain. I will serve you until the debt is satisfied. Daewon felt panic rising. No, listen, I don't need a crew member. I work alone. I was just doing the right thing. The right thing, Jiha repeated as if testing the words. Your reasons do not matter. The debt exists. I will serve, but I don't want. What you want is not important. Jiha picked up her blade from across the room. She moved carefully, still injured but determined. I am Velari. We do not abandon our debts. To do so would bring dishonor worse than death. You saved my life, human. Accept the consequences. She stood before him, blade held across her chest in a formal pose. I, Jiha of the Velari, pledge my service to Captain Daewon. Your enemies are my enemies. Your path is my path. This I swear on my blade and my blood. Daewon opened his mouth, then closed it again. He could see in her golden eyes that arguing was useless. The Velari warrior had made her decision. He had rescued her from that pod thinking he was doing something good. Now a fierce alien warrior had just sworn to serve him. His simple, quiet life was over. Okay, he said finally. Welcome aboard, I guess. Jiha lowered her blade. For the first time, something that might have been a smile crossed her face. Thank you, Captain. The first week with Jiha aboard was strange. Daewon had grown used to being alone, talking only to his ship's computer and the occasional trader. Now he had a Velari warrior living in his cargo bay, sleeping on a makeshift bed she insisted was more comfortable than the guest quarters. Jiha recovered quickly from her injuries. By the third day, she was doing exercises that looked impossible, moving through combat forms that were beautiful and terrifying. Daewon watched sometimes from the doorway, amazed at how graceful she was. Your ship is small, Jiha said one morning, joining him in the cockpit. It gets me where I need to go. It is also old and makes concerning sounds. Those sounds mean it has character. Jiha tilted her head. A gesture he was learning meant she was confused. Character does not keep engines running. Maybe not, but I can't afford a new ship. She accepted this without comment and sat in the co-pilot's chair. Daewon noticed she always kept her blade within reach. He had learned it was called a Velcar, and it had been in her family for generations. Where are we going? She asked. Braxis Station. I have cargo to deliver and I need to find more work. Braxis Station is controlled by the Merchant Alliance. They do not favor humans. They don't favor anyone who isn't making them money, but their credits spend just fine. Jiha made a sound that might have been amusement. You are practical. This is good. When they docked at Braxis Station 3 days later, Daewon felt nervous. He had been to Braxis before and it was always tense. The station was huge, built by a species called the Torvan who looked like walking rocks. Thousands of ships docked here every day and humans were a small minority. As they walked down the boarding ramp, Daewon noticed something different. Aliens were staring, not just casual glances but open stares. Some backed away. Others whispered to their companions. It took him a moment to realize they were staring at Jiha. She walked beside him, her blade visible on her hip, her scaled skin reflecting the station's lights. She looked every bit the warrior she was, and her presence changed how everyone saw him. They fear you, Daewon said quietly. They respect strength. This is natural. Their first stop was a warehouse district where Daewon was supposed to deliver machine parts. The buyer was a Torvan named Krek who always tried to pay less than agreed. Daewon had dealt with him before and knew it would be an argument. Krek was waiting in his office, a large room filled with displays and cargo manifests. He looked like a boulder with arms and small dark eyes. Ah, the human. Krek said in his grinding voice. You are late. The schedule said noon. It's 11:30. Details. Krek waved a massive hand. About the payment. Market prices have changed. I can only pay half. This was the usual game. Daewon took a breath, ready to argue. But before he could speak, Jiha stepped forward. She said nothing. She simply placed her hand on her blade and looked at Krek with those golden eyes. The Torvin's whole body seemed to tense. His dark eyes widened slightly. Actually, Krek said quickly, I think I made an error. Full payment as agreed, plus a bonus for timely delivery. Daewon blinked. A bonus? Yes. 20% extra. I appreciate reliable partners. Krek transferred the credits immediately. Do you have more cargo available? I pay well. They left the warehouse with twice what Daewon expected to earn. What just happened? He asked. He tried to cheat you. I showed him that cheating you was dangerous. He made a wise choice. You didn't even say anything. Words are not always necessary, Captain. Over the next few days, Daewon noticed the pattern repeating. When he walked through the station alone, people ignored him or tried to take advantage. When Jiha was with him, everything changed. Merchants offered better prices. Pirates who normally demanded protection money left him alone. Even station security treated him with respect. Word was spreading fast. A human with a Valari warrior was unusual. A human that a Valari called Captain was unheard of. One evening, Daewon was in a station bar trying to find new cargo contracts. The bar was crowded with beings from dozens of species, all drinking and talking business. Jiha sat at the table with him, drinking something that smelled like burning metal. A group of pirates approached. They were Kryn, a species known for violence and theft. There were 4 of them, all wearing armor and carrying weapons openly. You're in our spot, the leader said. He was tall and covered in gray skin that looked like stone. Daewon started to stand. Sorry, we'll move. No, Jiha said. She did not stand. She did not even look at the pirates. We will not, the Kryn leader laughed. You think because you're Valari we're afraid? I think you should be. The laughter died. The other pirates tensed. This human is my captain, Jiha said, finally looking up at them. Her voice was calm but hard as steel. Any disrespect to him is disrespect to me. Choose your next words carefully. The leader stared at her. Daewon could see him thinking, calculating. Finally, he stepped back. We'll find another table. They left quickly. The whole bar had gone quiet, watching. Then conversation slowly started again. You didn't have to do that, Daewon said. Yes, I did. You are my captain. That means something. To you, maybe. To everyone else, I'm just a human trying to survive. Jiha looked at him seriously. You do not understand yet. Among my people, we serve only those worthy of service. If I call you captain, others know you have earned it. This is not a small thing. Daewon sipped his drink, thinking about that. He had rescued Jiha because it seemed like the right thing to do. Now his whole life was changing because of it. Later that night, they were walking back to the ship when 3 Kryn stepped out of the shadows. Not the same ones from the bar, but they had the same look. Pirates looking for easy prey. Give us your credits, one demanded, pointing a weapon at Daewon. Before Daewon could react, Jiha moved. She was fast, faster than his eyes could follow. Her blade flashed once, twice, 3 times. The pirates' weapons clattered to the ground, cut into pieces. Jiha kicked one pirate in the chest, sending him flying backward. She grabbed another by the arm and twisted, forcing him to his knees. The third ran. The whole fight lasted maybe 5 seconds. Go, Jiha said to the 2 remaining pirates. Tell your friends what happens to those who threaten my captain. They ran. Daewon stood there, heart pounding. You could have killed them. Yes, but you didn't. Killing should be the last choice, not the first. Strength without wisdom is just cruelty. My people believe this, though many forget it. She looked at him. You would not have wanted me to kill them. Am I right? Yes, Daewon admitted. Then I made the correct choice. A good captain's values should guide their crew. They walked back to the Starhound in silence. When they reached the ship, Daewon turned to her. Thank you, Jiha, for everything today. She made a small bow. You saved my life, Captain. This is only the beginning of repaying that debt. I'm starting to think the debt thing is just an excuse, and what do you mean? I think you'd help me even without the debt. Jiha was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled, a real smile this time. Perhaps you are right. You are a good person, Daewon. Good people are rare in this galaxy. They should be protected. Over the following weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Daewon handled the flying and business negotiations. Jiha provided security and, surprisingly, helped with ship maintenance. She had good technical knowledge and strong hands for heavy repairs. They talked during long flights between stations. Daewon told her about Earth, about oceans and forests and cities that touched the sky. Jiha told him about her homeworld, about warrior academies and honor ceremonies and family traditions going back thousands of years. "Why were you in that escape pod?" Daewon asked one day. "What happened?" Jiha was quiet for a long time. "I made a choice. My unit was ordered to attack a civilian transport. I refused. In my culture, refusing orders is a grave dishonor. I was exiled. You were punished for doing the right thing? Honor can be complicated. My people value obedience and strength. I valued mercy more, so I left." Daewon looked at her with new respect. "That took courage, or foolishness. I am still not sure which." She met his eyes. "But I do not regret it. If I had followed those orders, I would not be the person I am now. I would not be here with a captain who understands that strength and kindness can exist together. Is that what you think I have? Strength and kindness? Yes, it is rare. Most beings have one or the other. You have both. This is why I truly serve you, Daewon. Not because of debt, but because you are worth following." Daewon felt something shift in his chest. For 3 years he had been alone, thinking that was what he wanted. Now he realized he had found something better. Not just a crew member, but a friend. 3 months after rescuing Jiha, Daewon's life had changed in ways he never expected. The Starhound was no longer just a cargo ship struggling to survive. They were known now, talked about in bars and trading posts across the Outer Rim. The human with the Valari warrior had become a phrase people used. Some said it with respect, others with suspicion. But everyone said it. The jobs coming to them were different too. Better paying, but more dangerous. Daewon sat in the cockpit, reviewing a new contract while Jiha cleaned her blade beside him. "Medical supplies to Syrix colony," Daewon read. "Triple the normal rate." "Why so high?" Jiha asked. "The colony is under quarantine blockade. The Kryn hegemony set it up 3 weeks ago. No ships in or out." "The Kryn." Jiha's voice became cold. "They are expanding their territory again. Syrix colony is not theirs to blockade. Galactic Council says the quarantine is illegal, but nobody wants to challenge the Kryn directly, except you." Daewon looked at the contract again. The people on Syrix needed medicine. Children were dying from a disease that was easily treatable, but they couldn't get supplies through the blockade. The Kryn were using the quarantine as an excuse to take control of the colony. "We can't let people die just because we're afraid," Daewon said. Jiha smiled. "This is why I follow you, Captain. You see what is right and you do it regardless of the cost. I hope the cost isn't our lives. If it comes to that, we will die with honor. Let's try not to die at all." They loaded the medical supplies and set course for Syrix colony. The journey took 4 days. Jiha spent the time teaching Daewon basic Valari combat moves. He was not very good, but he tried hard. "You move like you are thinking too much," Jiha said, correcting his stance. "Fighting is not about thinking. It is about knowing. That doesn't make sense. It will, with practice. Your body must learn the movements until they become natural, like breathing." Daewon practiced the forms until his muscles ached. Jiha never seemed to tire. She moved through, her exercises like water flowing downhill, smooth and unstoppable. On the evening of the 3rd day, she shared some of her culture with him. She played music from her homeworld, strange instruments that sounded like wind through crystals. She told him stories of ancient Valari heroes and the code of honor they lived by. "Strength without wisdom is tyranny," she explained. "Mercy without strength is weakness. A true warrior must have both. This is the foundation of everything we believe." Do all Valari follow this code? They should, but many forget the wisdom part. They focus only on strength and call it honor. Her expression darkened. "This is why I was exiled. I remembered the full code when my commanders forgot it." "Their loss," Daewon said. "I'm glad you're here." "As am I, Captain." When they reached Syrix colony, The Kryn blockade was waiting. 6 warships formed a barrier around the planet, their weapons powered and ready. The Starhound was tiny compared to them, like a mouse approaching 6 cats. Unidentified vessel, halt. A voice commanded over the communication channel. This system is under quarantine by order of the Kryn hegemony. Daewon activated the video link. A Kryn commander appeared on screen, his gray stone-like face stern and unforgiving. His name marker identified him as Commander Talwi. This is Captain Daewon of the Starhound. I'm carrying humanitarian supplies for Syrinx colony, medical equipment and medicine. The quarantine allows no exceptions. Turn back immediately or be destroyed. People are dying down there. Children are dying. You can't just let that happen. We can, and we will. The quarantine must be maintained. This is your final warning. Daewon felt frustration rising. He looked at Jiha, who had been standing quietly behind him. She nodded and stepped into view of the camera. The effect was immediate. Commander Talwi's eyes widened. Other Kryn officers appeared in the background, their faces showing clear alarm. I am Jiha of the Valari, she said in a strong, clear voice. Then she began speaking in what Daewon assumed was the Kryn language. Her words were sharp and commanding. Talwi responded in the same language, his tone defensive. They went back and forth for a minute, their voices growing louder. Finally, Jiha spoke in common again, her eyes fixed on the commander. I serve this human by choice and honor. He is my captain. Any attack on his ship is an attack on me personally. I invoke the Treaty of Candor. You know what that means. There was a long silence. Talwi looked like he had swallowed something bitter. The Treaty of Candor, he said slowly, states that Valari warriors under formal service are protected by ancient covenant. To attack such a warrior without cause is to declare war on the Valari people. Correct. And I have declared this human my captain. His mission is humanitarian in nature, protected by galactic law. You have no legal right to stop him. Talwi's face showed pure frustration. You would invoke a 1,000-year treaty for this human? Without hesitation. Another long silence. Daewon held his breath. Around them, the 6 Kryn warships remained still, weapons charged. Finally, Talwi spoke. The Starhound is permitted to pass. Deliver your supplies and leave immediately. This exception is granted only because of the Valari presence. Understood, Daewon said. The blockade ships moved aside, creating a corridor to the planet. Daewon flew through it carefully, aware that 6 sets of weapons were tracking them the entire time. What just happened? He asked Jiha once they were past the blockade. The Kryn and Valari fought 7 wars over the past 3,000 years. The Kryn lost all 7. The Treaty of Candor was signed after the last war to prevent future conflicts. One of its terms protects Valari warriors from unprovoked attacks. So they couldn't shoot us because you're here. More specifically, because I claimed you as my captain. To attack your ship would mean attacking me, which would violate the treaty. You just used an ancient treaty to deliver medicine. Jiha smiled. Power is useful only when you know how to apply it. You needed to get through. I had the power to make that happen. A good warrior uses all available tools. They landed on Syrinx colony and delivered the medical supplies. The colonists were grateful, some crying with relief. A doctor named Hana thanked Daewon personally. We thought we were forgotten, she said. The Kryn said no one would help us, but you came anyway. Someone had to, Daewon said simply. When they launched back into space, the Kryn ships watched, but did not interfere. Talwi's voice came over the communication channel one more time. Human captain, he said. You are brave or foolish, perhaps both. The Kryn hegemony will remember you. I hope that's a good thing, Daewon replied. That remains to be seen. The channel closed. They jumped to hyperspace and left the system behind. Over the next week, Daewon noticed something strange. Everywhere they docked, people knew about Syrinx colony. The story had spread fast. A human captain and his Valari warrior had broken a Kryn blockade using ancient treaties and humanitarian law. Other humans began seeking him out. At a station called Nexus Point, a woman approached him in the market. Her name was Sora, and she was a cargo hauler like him. "Captain Daewon," she said. "I've heard about you, about what you did at Syrinx. News travels fast. It does when it gives people hope." Sora looked nervous but determined. "There are maybe 200 human ships working in the Outer Rim. Most of us struggle every day. We get the worst contracts, the worst docking fees. Some species won't even trade with us, but you're different, you command respect. That's mostly because of Jiha. Maybe at first. But the story from Syrinx? That was you making a hard choice and doing the right thing. That was you standing up to the Kryn hegemony when everyone else looked away." Daewon felt uncomfortable with the praise. "I just delivered medicine. You did more than that. You showed that humans can be brave, that we can earn respect through our actions." Sora took a breath. "There's a trade summit next month at Nexus Station. The big species will all be there making deals and setting prices. Humans are invited, but we're never taken seriously. I think you should come. I think you should speak for us. I'm not a politician. I'm just a cargo hauler. You're a captain who broke a Kryn blockade. You're a human that a Valari warrior follows by choice. Your voice would mean something." Daewon wanted to refuse, but he saw hope in Sora's eyes, and he knew that hope was important. "I'll think about it," he said. That evening, back on the Starhound, he told Jiha about the conversation. "You should go," she said immediately. "Why?" "I don't know anything about politics or trade negotiations. You know about doing what is right. You know about standing up when others back down. These are the qualities of a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm just trying to survive and help where I can." Jiha put her hand on his shoulder. "True leaders do not seek power. They accept responsibility because they must. You have shown courage and wisdom. Other humans see this and want to follow your example. This is leadership, whether you call it that or not. What if I fail? What if I make things worse? Then you will have tried, which is more than doing nothing. Among my people, we have a saying. The warrior who never enters battle never learns to fight, but also never knows victory." Daewon thought about all the humans struggling in the Outer Rim. People like Sora working hard but never getting fair treatment. Maybe he could help them. Maybe his reputation, built on Jiha's presence and his own choices. Nexus Station was the largest space station Daewon had ever seen. It floated in neutral space, a massive structure of metal and light that housed millions of beings from across the galaxy. The station was built specifically for diplomacy and trade, a place where different species could meet without fighting. The Starhound looked tiny as it approached the docking bay. Around them were hundreds of other ships, some massive and elegant, others functional and plain. Daewon noticed several human vessels scattered among the alien ones. "Nervous?" Jiha asked. "Terrified," Daewon admitted. "I've never done anything like this. You stood up to a Kryn blockade. You can handle a room full of politicians. The blockade was easier. At least there I knew who the enemy was." They docked and made their way to the summit hall. The station's interior was beautiful, with high ceilings and walls that showed images of stars and nebulas. Beings of every species walked past them, some on 2 legs, some on 4, some floating in hoverfields. The summit was being held in a massive circular chamber with seating arranged in tiers. Each species had their section, marked with their flags and symbols. Daewon found the human area, a small section near the back. About 30 humans were already there, including Sora. "You came," she said, relief clear in her voice. "I wasn't sure you would. I said I'd think about it. I thought about it. Thank you, really. Just being here means something." As they took their seats, Daewon noticed the stares. Other species were looking at him, or more specifically at Jiha standing beside him. Whispers spread through the chamber. "They are wondering why a Valari is here with humans," Jiha said quietly. "Valari rarely attend these summits. We prefer to settle disagreements more directly." "Is that a nice way of saying you prefer fighting?" "Yes." The summit began with formal speeches from the major powers. Representatives from species Daewon had only heard about spoke of trade routes, mineral rights, and territorial disputes. Everything was polite on the surface, but he could feel the tension underneath. This was where power was negotiated, where the strong decided what was fair. Humans were not mentioned once during the first 3 hours. Then came the dispute resolution section. A human trader named Wu Jin stepped forward to present a complaint against the Thelox Consortium, a powerful merchant guild that controlled trade in several sectors. Wu Jin was nervous but spoke clearly. The Thelox Consortium has been enforcing predatory contracts on human cargo haulers. We signed agreements that seemed fair, but the terms hidden in the contract language trap us in debt. We pay more in fees than we earn in cargo payments. This violates galactic fair trade laws. A Thelox representative stood to respond. His name was Vex, and he looked like a giant mantis with too many arms. His voice was smooth and dismissive. The humans signed contracts freely. They agreed to all terms. If they did not read the full documentation, that is their failure, not ours. The Thelox Consortium has done nothing illegal, but the contracts are designed to be confusing, Wu Jin protested. The fee structures change based on calculations that require advanced mathematics to understand. It's deliberate deception. Vex made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. If humans lack the intelligence to understand basic commerce, perhaps they should not participate in galactic trade. We cannot be blamed for their inadequacy. Anger rippled through the human section. Daewon felt his hands clench. The summit chairman, a dignified being called a Wexar, spoke. The complaint is noted. However, without proof of deliberate fraud, the contracts stand as valid. Next dispute. Wait, Daewon said, standing up. The entire chamber turned to look at him. Thousands of eyes, alien and human, focused on his position. Who speaks? The chairman asked. Captain Daewon of the Starhound. I want to address this issue. Vex turned to look at him, his insect eyes reflecting the light. And what does a simple cargo hauler know of contract law and trade policy? I know about fairness, and I know what it's like to be treated as less than equal just because I'm human. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Daewon felt his heart pounding but forced himself to continue. For 3 years I've worked in the Outer Rim. I've seen how humans are treated. We get the worst docking fees. We're offered jobs that other species won't take. Our contracts always have hidden costs. And when we complain, we're told it's our own fault for being weak or stupid. This is the reality of the galaxy, Vex said. The strong prosper. The weak struggle. This has always been true. But is it right? Daewon looked around the chamber. Every species here started somewhere. The Thelox weren't always powerful. The Kryn weren't always a hegemony. Someone gave you chances to grow and prove yourselves. Humans are asking for the same thing. Humans have no reputation, Vex said. You are newcomers with no history of reliability or strength. Why should established powers treat you as equals? Because of merit. Because of what we can do, not what we have done. Daewon felt the words coming easier now. Judge us by our character and our actions. Give us fair terms and we'll prove we can meet them. But don't trap us in systems designed for us to fail and then blame us for failing. Empty words from an insignificant species, Vex said. You speak of character, but what have humans done to earn respect? Where is your strength? Your honor? Your— Enough, Jiha said, rising to her feet. The chamber went completely silent. A Valari warrior standing in the human section was unprecedented. Jiha walked down the steps until she stood on the main floor, visible to everyone. Her scales shimmered under the lights and her hand rested on her blade. I am Jiha of the Valari, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. I speak now not as a warrior of my people, but as one who has learned something important. She turned slowly, looking at different sections of the chamber. When this human found me, I was dying. He saved my life. At first I served him because of honor and debt. But I learned something during our time together. I learned that strength comes in many forms. She pointed at Daewon. This human flew his ship through a Kryn blockade to deliver medicine to dying children. Not for profit, not for glory, because it was right. He used words and laws instead of weapons, and he succeeded where violence would have failed.
Is this not strength?
When we docked at stations, he treated everyone with respect, regardless of their species or power. He kept his word even when breaking it would have been easier. He showed mercy when he had the right to show anger. Is this not character? She looked directly at Vex. I was born into a warrior culture. I was taught that only the strong deserve respect, that mercy is weakness, that power is everything. And for a long time I believed this, but I was wrong. The chamber was so quiet Daewon could hear his own breathing. This human taught me that true strength is using your power to protect others, not to exploit them. That real honor comes from choosing what is right even when it costs you. That wisdom and kindness are not weaknesses but the highest forms of strength. Jiha walked back to stand beside Daewon. I serve this human by choice now, not because of debt, but because he embodies the values my people claim to honor but often forget. If you dismiss him because he is human, you are the ones who are weak. You are the ones without wisdom. You judge by species instead of merit, and in doing so you prove you do not deserve the respect you demand. She sat down. The silence continued for several heartbeats. Then a representative from the Alterian collective stood up. They were an old species known for wisdom. The Valeri warrior speaks truth, the Alterian said. We have become complacent in our power. We judge newcomers harshly while forgetting our own difficult beginnings. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our practices. Another species representative stood, then another. Not all of them, but enough to matter. They began speaking about reviewing trade practices, about examining contracts for unfair terms, about giving humans genuine opportunities. Vex looked furious, but said nothing. He could not argue against a Valari's testimony without risking a confrontation. The chairman spoke. The summit will establish a committee to review trade contracts between established powers and newer species. Fair standards will be developed and enforced. This session is concluded. As beings began leaving the chamber, Sora rushed up to Daewon. That was incredible, she said. You actually changed their minds. Jiha changed their minds, Daewon corrected. I just said what needed to be said. You both did. Sora looked at the other humans gathering around. We finally have a chance. A real chance. Over the next few hours, dozens of humans approached Daewon. Some thanked him. Others wanted advice. A few asked if he would represent them in future negotiations. I'm not a leader, Daewon kept saying. I'm just a cargo hauler. You're more than that now, one human said. Whether you want to be or not. That evening, Daewon and Jiha sat in a quiet observation deck watching stars through the massive windows. I didn't want this, Daewon said. I just wanted to do my job and help where I could. That is exactly why you are the right person, Jiha replied. Leaders who seek power often abuse it. Leaders who accept responsibility because they must often use it wisely. What if I make mistakes? What if I let people down? You will make mistakes. All leaders do. But you will also try to do what is right, and that matters more than perfection. Daewon looked at her. 4 months passed after the summit. Life settled into a new rhythm for Daewon and Jiha. The Starhound continued flying cargo runs, but the jobs were better now. Fair contracts, honest clients, and respect at every port. Word of what happened at the summit had spread across the outer rim. Other humans were doing better too. Sora sent regular updates about how the new trade committee was helping human cargo haulers. Unfair contracts were being canceled. Docking fees were being reduced. It was slow progress, but it was real. Daewon and Jiha had become more than a captain and crew member. They were partners, friends who trusted each other completely. They worked together smoothly, almost able to predict what the other would do. One quiet afternoon, as they drifted through space between jobs, Jiha's communication console beeped. She looked at the display and went very still. What is it? Daewon asked. A message. From my homeworld. Her voice was carefully neutral, but Daewon could hear the tension underneath. What does it say? Jiha read the message silently. Her golden eyes moved across the text, her expression unreadable. The High Council requests my presence. They want me to return home. She looked up at Daewon. My exile is being reconsidered. Daewon felt something twist in his chest. That's good news, isn't it? You can go home. Perhaps. The message does not say why they are reconsidering. It could be good. It could be a trap. Do you want to go? Jiha was quiet for a long time. I do not know. Home is complicated for me now. Because of what happened. The reason you were exiled? Yes, and because, she hesitated. Because I have found something here. Something I did not expect to find. What's that? Purpose, friendship, a place where I belong. She met his eyes. But I should go. I need to know what the council wants. And if there is a chance to restore my honor among my people, I should take it. Daewon nodded, even though the thought of Jiha leaving made him sad. Then we'll go together. I'll take you there. You would do that? Of course. You're my friend. And honestly, I want to see your homeworld, Jiha smiled. Thank you, Captain. The journey to the Valari homeworld took 8 days. Jiha grew quieter as they got closer, spending long hours in meditation or practicing her combat forms. Daewon gave her space but let her know he was there if she wanted to talk. On the 7th day, she came to the cockpit and sat beside him. "I am afraid," she said quietly. "Of what?" "Of going home. Of facing the council. She paused. "Of having to choose." "Choose what?" "Between my people and my place here. Between who I was and who I have become." Daewon reached over and squeezed her hand. "Whatever happens, whatever you choose, I'll support you. You've earned the right to make your own decisions. Even if that decision is to stay on my homeworld, even then, I'd miss you. But I want you to be happy." Jiha squeezed his hand back. "You are a good friend, Daewon. Better than I deserve. You deserve the best. Don't forget that." When they arrived at the Valari homeworld, Daewon understood immediately why Jiha's people were such formidable warriors. The planet was beautiful but harsh, with massive mountains and deep canyons. Cities were built into cliffsides, and warrior training complexes dominated the landscape. They landed at the capital city's spaceport. As they walked down the boarding ramp, Daewon saw dozens of Valari watching them. All of them had the same scaled skin and golden eyes as Jiha, but their expressions were harder, more suspicious. "Stay close," Jiha said. "My people are not always welcoming to outsiders." An honor guard met them at the landing platform. 6 Valari warriors in ceremonial armor, carrying ornate blades. Their leader, a tall male with silver patterns on his scales, bowed slightly. "Jiha, the High Council awaits you. The human may wait at the spaceport." "The human is my captain," Jiha said firmly. "Where I go, he goes." The guard leader looked uncomfortable. "The council meeting is for Valari only." "Then I will not attend." There was a tense moment. Finally, the guard leader nodded. "Very well. Follow me." They were escorted through the city. Daewon tried not to stare, but everything was fascinating. The architecture was both elegant and defensive, every building designed to be beautiful and practical. Valari moved through the streets with purpose, all of them carrying themselves like warriors. The council hall was a massive structure carved into a mountainside. Inside, 5 elderly Valari sat in a semicircle on raised platforms. They radiated authority and power. Jiha and Daewon stood before them. "Jiha," the central council member said. Her voice was ancient but strong. "You were exiled for refusing a direct order, for choosing personal conscience over military duty. Do you remember this?" "Yes, High Elder. I remember clearly. Your actions that day dishonored your unit and questioned the wisdom of your commanders. Yet we have heard stories of what you have done since then, stories of your service to this human, of your conduct in the Outer Rim. Tell us, is it true that you invoked the Treaty of Candor against the Kryn?" "It is true." "And you broke a military blockade to deliver humanitarian aid?" "Yes." "You spoke at the Nexus Summit defending this human and his people?" "I did." The High Elder leaned forward. Why do these things for a human? What debt could possibly justify such actions?" Jiha stood straighter. "At first I served him because he saved my life. The debt was real and binding. But as time passed, I came to understand something. Captain Daewon embodies the values we Valari claim to honor. Strength used to protect the weak. Wisdom in choosing mercy over violence. Honor in doing what is right regardless of cost." She gestured to Daewon. "This human is everything we say a warrior should be. He proved it with his actions, not his words. The debt I owe him now is not one of life, but of respect. I serve him because he is worthy of service." The council members looked at each other. The High Elder spoke again. "The council has discussed your case extensively. Your refusal to follow orders was technically a violation of our laws. However, the order itself was dishonorable. The raid you refused to participate in resulted in civilian casualties and brought shame to those who executed it." Jiha's eyes widened slightly. "Furthermore, your conduct since exile has demonstrated the true meaning of Valari honor. You have brought credit to our people through your actions. Therefore, the council has decided to reverse your exile. You are welcome to return home, Jiha. We offer you a position as a fleet commander leading warriors in defense of our borders." Jiha bowed deeply. "Thank you, High Elder. Your words honor me greatly. Will you accept?" There was a long silence. Daewon held his breath. "No," Jiha said finally. "I respectfully decline." Shock rippled through the chamber. Even the High Elder looked surprised. "You refuse to return? To reclaim your place among your people?" I do not refuse my people, High Elder. I carry them with me always. But I have found my place, and it is beside this human. He is my captain by choice, not by debt. That choice matters to me. You would give up the honor of serving the Valari to serve a single human on a cargo ship? Jiha smiled. Yes, because true honor is not in titles or positions. It is in following the path you know to be right. My path is with Captain Daewon. It has been since the day he rescued me, though I did not fully understand it until now. The High Elder was quiet for a moment. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. You have learned wisdom, Jiha. True wisdom, which is rarer than strength. You understand that honor is not about glory or recognition, but about staying true to your values. This is why we invited you back. We hoped to find you had grown, and you have exceeded our hopes. You are not angry? Jiha asked, confused. Why would we be angry? You have proven yourself a true Valari warrior, perhaps more than those who never left home. You may not serve our fleets, but you represent our people with honor wherever you go. The High Elder stood and descended from her platform. She approached Jiha and placed a hand on her shoulder. You have my blessing, Jiha. Serve your captain well. Make us proud. I will, High Elder, thank you. The ceremony ended. As they walked back through the city, Daewon finally spoke. You gave up a fleet command. For me, for the Starhound. Yes, why? Jiha stopped walking and looked at him. Because the Starhound is my home now. Because fighting beside you matters more to me than commanding fleets. Because you are my friend, and friendship is more valuable than rank or power. I don't know what to say. You do not need to say anything. Just promise me that we will continue flying together. That you will continue being the person you are. Daewon smiled. I promise. They returned to the Starhound. As they prepared for departure, Daewon received a message from Sora. Captain Daewon, her message read. Several human crews want to form an organization. A coalition for mutual protection and fair trade. We're calling it the Free Haulers Union. We'd like you to be part of the founding group, not as a leader, but as an advisor and representative. Will you join us? Daewon showed the message to Jiha. You should accept, she said immediately. You can help them. You can make a difference. Only if we do it together, as partners. Always as partners, Captain. Daewon sent his acceptance to Sora. The Free Haulers Union was officially formed a week later, with 20 founding members. It was small, but it was a start. A group of humans working together, supporting each other, proving they could succeed in the galaxy. 3 weeks after leaving the Valari homeworld,